Your mom and dad. Your mom and dad. Your mom and dad. Your mom and dad.
Well, welcome home, family. It's
Your mom and dad.
Oh, there's Lee's voice. It feels like sweet, sweet home with your family.
Always sweet, sweet home.
It's just a big warm embrace. Hey, everybody, I'm so sorry. I just got distracted. I was looking in our video monitor, and I am not, for the first time in a few weeks, wearing my fake clip-on bangs. And I feel like I look naked. Like I feel, I'm looking at the monitor and it's really distracting me because I feel like we're gonna get demonetized. Like my forehead is nude.
They're like
we're
too much forehead.
It's gonna
no ads.
I feel naked.
It's a 5 head.
That's what it feels like.
No,
that's what it feels
you have
like
beautiful
right now.
forehead.
I feel
One of
like,
the better foreheads.
Thank you, but it just feels when you're used to essentially having
coverage.
a hair skirt over your forehead. It feels like I should be like my forehead should be behind a paywall or something right now. Anyway,
subscribe.
I would be so
for this
down
for like content.
Yeah,
if that was a thing.
Listen, I feel like everything's a thing. You know,
There's gotta be some foreheads.
You know, I'd be so down.
Come on.
You know,
Man.
I'd be so down to do like the feet content if people wanted it, but nobody wants it. But I would be so in. So I'm like, yeah, sure. I'll serve you some forehead behind a paywall. 100%.
You're serving
I'll serve
forehead.
you forehead. I'll remove the clip-on bangs. God, I love the clip-on bangs.
It's a transformation. I will say, like,
I feel like a different person.
Man, like I have my head shaved. Like if I just came out in a full wig, you're kind of like, that's a move.
Well, you do a full wig often on this show.
I like how I said it like I was, what if I tried that?
It's not that far from the
true.
actuality of the
That's
situation.
true.
But I'm like, family, we're like so cozy right now. It's
Been
raining in the background.
for like 3 days straight, which is
unusual.
jarring for at least
for
me.
us.
These two emo rats love it.
God, we love
They
the rain.
love the like gloomy vibes, which is totally fine.
Soak me to the core, daddy. Honestly, it's very crow energy. Like
it is
crow. That's what I feel like I'm realizing. I'm like, I like the gloom. I like the wetness. I like the crows. It's I'm just really realizing that I am emo at heart.
And after about 3 days, that's when I start to lose it. So I'm kind of like, today better be the last day.
Okay, well.
So tell your crows to chill.
I'm praying to all of my crows for more wetness. Yes.
Yeah, whenever you see a crow in the sunlight, you're like, what are you doing out?
I'm like, hey, buddy.
You know, it's like crows kind of belong in the dark, damp world.
It's very true. But no need to talk more about weather because that's so...
Didn't we do this not too long ago, too?
Yeah, and I was like, why
I got roasted for it again. You know what, I'll be honest with you, I can kind of get into weather, and it's not because, like, I actually do kind of like talking about it, and it's literally a cliche of what not to talk about.
No,
what does that say
literally-
about me? Because I'll kind of like talking about it. Like, I'll sit there, I'll talk to, like, a friend about the weather for a little bit, and it's like, yes, it is a joke not to, but I kind of find it interesting.
I think the whole thing is, like, you don't have a personality if you just want to
That's
talk
what
about
I'm
weather.
saying. So maybe I'm kind of coming to terms with this.
Maybe you shouldn't be podcasting.
I mean, listen, I'm sure there's some people that agree with you.
I feel like you'd be a pretty good like weather reporter.
Oh
you know,
my
weather
God.
guy on
Yes.
the plane in the green screen.
Yes, he's the weatherman.
Because there's two things I like to talk about that Jess definitely doesn't love. Like she like what do you call it when you like you just like listen to someone and go, oh, okay, sweetie,
placate you.
Placate, I guess.
Yeah.
Is number one is weather. And number two is old buildings, like abandoned buildings. I'm always, whenever I drive by an abandoned building, I'm like, what's going on with that one? And she's always just like, I don't know, man. It's just a house that no one lives in anymore. Like, and I'm always like, I wonder what the history is. And like, I'll like turn off the road. If we're like somewhere that's not familiar to us and there's like an old house that's all like fucked up, I'll literally be like, whoa.
But that's what I'm saying. That's what he's not including. Is that like when he sees the old abandoned building is like, what could that have been? I'm like, that's interesting. I don't know. But then like, it doesn't
Time
end.
to go investigate.
And then it's like, oh, now we're driving. We're like off course. We're late for the meeting. It's just like, no,
like I'll watch YouTube videos of people exploring abandoned buildings.
Oh, I know. I've seen your YouTube
and that feels a little
search.
personality. That feels a little personality less vibe too. So I think we're getting to something, and it's shock. It's It's eye-opening to me. Anyway,
I'm just
good
saying we
morning,
can't start
everyone.
off the conversation with the family about the weather because that feels
I'm
very
starting
much...
a new podcast
but
called Weather and Abandoned
I'm
Buildings.
just saying that feels very much like we're called your mom and dad, and like nothing is more awkward your family energy than going over to the family's house that you can't stand, and everyone just talks about the weather, and it's all so tight and uncomfortable. So like
Yes.
we're not that family to our family
But
members.
I'm sucking us into that a little
I don't
bit.
want
and
that.
We need to pull
we
back.
don't want to be the awkward family. We want to be the family that everyone
The
can come
cool
to
family.
and just be like, oh, I can just let my hair down. I can take off my clip-on bangs,
No
as they
judgment.
say,
Yeah.
no judgment, and just live and exist.
Okay, well,
So,
back to cool.
anyhow, my point is that it's very cozy, and I have like
Yes.
very cozy energy today.
Okay,
very
I'm
cozy
glad.
energy, and I'm really, really excited to talk with the family about this episode of
Yes.
The Bachelor because everybody, this season slaps so far. Like, I love it. I'm hearing people going, I'm done with the Maria Syndney drama. I'm just getting started. I'm thrilled that we get more next week. I'm thrilled that we're going to get a 2-on-1. I'm living for this
Because
drama.
these are generally the things that happen much later in the season.
That's what I'm saying.
Like, it's kind of like towards the end, there's 5 people left. They put them on a 2-on-1, and then they go to hometowns.
Yeah.
Not like episode 3, we have like major beef and a 2-on-1. You know what I'm saying?
And beef started episode 1. I mean, let's just not forget Jess. Jess is waiting in the wings right now for an upcoming episode because we see some sort of energy going down. We saw a clip. I believe it was Jess and Maria having a moment. Like at the very beginning of the season, we see a clip that's coming. So Jess is waiting in the wings. And now we have this whole Maria Syndney situation. And I'm loving this season.
Yeah,
I'm
it's
loving
really,
this.
really
it's
good.
It's bringing out a lot of opinions from me, which I feel like I haven't had like a lot of opinions in a hot minute where I want to like sit and get on the phone with my mom and be like, what are your thoughts on the way that Syndney handled this and Maria said this? Obviously, Maria does no wrong in my eyes.
I think that's also the
Worship
thing is
Maria.
I'm starting to really like people.
Yeah.
And so when something bad happens to them, I get anxious.
Evan was so anxious watching this episode. At numerous points when Syndney would start saying something, Evan would get up and walk out of the room. And I was like, Evan, we do a recap podcast. You need to watch it. Like, you have to hear what she says.
Yeah, I don't know why. I mean,
you were very
guys,
triggered by her.
Guys, let me just say something. I know you know this about me, but like I always have to remember that this is a show. And like sometimes I get really sucked in and I believe everything. And now, sure, is my viewing experience probably better than most because I'm so sucked in? Yes. But I'm just saying, like, I get real attached to people. And then when stuff happens, I get really, like, anxious about it.
I know.
Like, I want to get in there and be like, you guys stop.
Yes, I know.
So-
You were literally pacing, panicking, walking out of the room. And
Yeah,
I'm
it
just
made me
like,
so
please
anxious.
sit down and take notes.
But we have thoughts.
We have a
thoughts about
lot
all
of
it.
thoughts. So I say let's just dive right in.
Yeah.
But before we dive in, 2 things. We got to take a quick pause. But before the quick pause, I just want to let the family know and give everyone a schedule heads up.
Yeah.
So this week, this is going to be our only episode. And next week, we are gifted a Monday and Tuesday episode of The Bachelor. We have 2 Bachelor episodes. So what our goal is going to be is on Wednesday, hopefully we can, get it all recorded and ready. So the goal is Wednesday, we will be dropping a combo Bachelor recap episode of episodes 4 and 5 that are going to be airing on Monday and Tuesday. And then on Friday, we will be dropping an episode covering the first few episodes that are being released of the new Love is Blind season.
We're back
I'm
on
so
it, baby.
happy. God, I love recapping Love is Blind.
I know.
I'm so excited. So that's going to be next week. So hopefully Wednesday and Friday, you're going to get a double Bachelor episode on Wednesday and a Love is Blind recap on Friday. So,
Yes.
but with that being said, let's take a quick pause and then dive into this recap.
Let's do it.
Family, lots of gorgeous hair on Joey's season. Have you
Yes.
noticed this? Joey, so much gorgeous hair. And speaking of hair, family, I feel like the word on everyone's lips these days is Nutrafol. I have so many dear friends, like a lot of friends who have been using Nutrafol over the years, and every single one of them raves about Nutrafol. They can't say enough good things, and they love it because they are loving their hair results. I just recently started taking Nutrafol, and I am so excited. Hair thinning impacts a lot of us. hi, hello, it's me. In fact, over half of us will experience hair thinning at some point in our lives. It's not only common, it's normal. Join the over 1 million people who are doing something about it with Nutrafol. Hair thinning is complicated. Nutrafol's whole body approach multi-targets underlying root causes like stress, hormone fluctuations, and nutrient gaps for visibly thicker, stronger hair. And this is physician formulated with drug-free ingredients, by the way. Incredible.
Yes, I hopped on board and just recently started taking it too because all of our friends have amazing experiences with it. What's incredible is that Nutrafol has multiple formulas that are tailored to give your hair what it needs to grow based on your biology, your life stage, and lifestyle factors. Take their hair wellness quiz at Nutrafol.com for a personalized hair health plan based on your specific root causes. In clinical studies, 72% of men saw more scalp coverage after taking Nutrafol men's hair growth supplements for 6 months, and 86% of women saw improved hair growth after taking Nutrafol women's hair growth supplement for 6 months.
That's incredible. Join us on this journey, family. With Nutrafol, building a hair growth routine is simple. Purchase online, no prescription or doctor visits required, free shipping, and automated deliveries ensure you'll never miss a day, and you can see results in 3 to 6 months. Take the first step to visibly thicker, healthier hair. For a limited time, Nutrafol is offering our listeners $10 off your first month's subscription and free shipping when you go to Nutrafol.com and enter the promo code MOMDAD. Find out why over 4,500 healthcare professionals and stylists recommend Nutrafol for healthier hair. Nutrafol.com, spelled Nutrafol.com, promo code MOMDAD. That's Nutrafol.com, promo code MOMDAD. I'm telling you, family, I know you've seen it online probably, but the results for Nutrafol are just absolutely incredible.
Insane.
So just hop on board with us. Okay, so let's dive into this recap. Let's get this coffee charged in our bodies.
Yeah, we're recording a little earlier than we normally do,
up.
And it's amazing what like an hour and a half difference does. It's like, yo!
I was like, the day is so cozy, and it's like the rain is sleepy, and I haven't had my coffee. I'm just having it. We gotta wake up.
Wake up.
Wake up. Let's get into this recap.
Go.
I got something to say right out the gate for you.
What do you got?
And it is something that I observed within 2 seconds of starting this episode. And that was all the ladies were sitting in the mansion, and there appeared to be a large crystal in the center of the
the coffee table.
The coffee table that looked like the crystal that our dear Gary gave Susan as a special gift. Okay? Go back, watch this.
Right.
It has to be the same crystal, okay? So let me tell you.
Speaking of that, I have a gift for you.
What?
Something I wanted to give you.
I'm so
That's basically what Gary did. He was just like, I have something very special for you, Susan. And it was just like some random stuff at the mansion. He just like grabbed it off the table.
That's
and
what
he's like,
I'm
this
saying.
is for you.
Is this what happened? Because that moment, that Gary moment where he gave Susan that crystal, I remember being like, I talked about it on the podcast. I was like, oh my God, first of all, is he our woo king?
Right.
He gave her this crystal and was like, it like connects, I think it was amethyst. It connects with your like compassion, your empathy.
It
and
really
I'm like,
was just a salt lamp from room 306.
And I was like, please do not tell me some assistant went in and grabbed the random crystal
It's
that
from
was
Bath
on a
and Body
side
Works.
that was from a side table in the mansion already, wrapped it up, and it was like, Gary, you can give this to Susan. And then they didn't let Susan keep it, and they put it.
Yeah, they're like, they just took it right back.
On the table again. That's what it looked like. And I'm just have to tell you, that's how I started off this episode, and it distracted me right at the gate. I was just like, someone wrap it up and give it to Susan during the Mrs. Right competition, because for the love of God, give her her damn crystal.
Right. It's like he gives her like a painting. It looks kind of like a hotel painting, and then she goes into her room and the painting's gone from her room. She's like, wait a second.
Something's missing here. This came from my heart deeply.
This is just from me, and this means a lot. And he's like, okay,
honestly. Cool. Okay, but speaking of Susan, we do end up seeing Susan quite quickly because our dear Askin crew is going to be hosting a date. So we have a group date first, and I wanted to note this from the top, which I noticed. We see Maria immediately in ITMs being like, you know what? Last week was tough, but I'm happy. We're all good. Let's
Yeah.
move on. Let's enjoy each other's company. We're only here for a short time,
Yes.
and let's be in this together. That was her ITM energy. And then Syndney's ITM energy was like, it sucks to be going on this date with Maria.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, so we have two very different energies. By the way, Medina, who this whole thing even is why it started with Maria,
Yeah.
isn't saying anything. She's on the date with Maria. She's not doesn't seem to be tripping about it at all. It's Syndney who's
Yeah.
just like, I cannot believe I have to go on a date with Maria.
Yeah. I'll say this before we launch into like the full analysis of this. One thing I want to say is that if you notice, Maria is showing a lot of emotion about this. Sydney's showing no emotion about this. Even though Syndney is the one accusing that she's the victim of all the atrocities that are going
All
on.
these apparent atrocities
Of
that
all
Maria,
these horrific things that
Yes.
she's saying Maria's doing it to her. She is showing no emotion about it.
which is why I have a theory that Syndney is playing a game.
That's kind of where I'm getting to.
I'm having a big theory that Sydney's playing a game. We even had a preview where for next week during the 2-on-1, she's like, I have a
Strategy.
I have a strategy.
Yes.
And I'm like, what is she going to... Is this her way of getting Maria out? Did she smell competition with Maria right out the gate and is like, I'm going to put on this show
Yeah.
for the people,
Yes.
for Joey, to convince everyone that somehow Maria is this person who's just this terrible... Because it is so out of the clouds, Evan. Like, you and I are looking at each other this whole time going, what is happening? Like, all of America is like, what is happening right now? Nobody gets it. Nobody understands what she's
Everyone's
upset
so
about.
confused.
Nobody understands.
And that's because what I think is going on is that she saw Maria
Yes.
as a threat early on,
Immediately.
was looking for anything to grab a hold of to use.
Yeah.
And this was the closest thing. Even though it's like not even about her, not even what she was looking for, any slight misstep to use to create her arc with Maria.
Yes, because the vibe I'm getting is when we go back to the actual incident that initially happened, which was the whole Age Medina piece, it almost feels like, and I know we didn't see this, but if you were to see more behind the scenes camera footage, that like Syndney probably went up to Medina and was just like, did that bother you? Did that really bother you? That
Right.
really bothered you, huh? Do you know what? I heard Maria then say this. And then Medina's kind of like, oh yeah, that makes me
Right.
feel a little weird. And then when her and Maria have that moment, she's a little bit like, no, I don't want to engage with you right now, whatever. But then clearly we see in this episode, and we'll get into it more, that Medina's like, we're all good. It's fine. You and I are all clear. And it's Syndney who I think wanted to make it a big deal in the first place.
Well, my biggest grief
Because
is
that, like you said, that was the window, that was the door where it's like, I can get Maria out.
because I'm kind of waiting for Medina to just look at Syndney and go, isn't this about me?
I feel like
I'm waiting for that moment. It's, you know what I mean? It's like when someone, has like it's like if you got a promotion at work.
Yeah.
And then your friend who works with you made it about them and being like, well, I also am just such a supportive friend. And we're all happy for Evan here that he got. And we're
Isn't
like,
it
wait.
crazy that Evan got the promotion? You know that we were on a group together and like I really
We
carried the
worked
load.
hard.
Yeah.
We worked very hard for this promotion. And I'm going, wait, like, what is happening? Like, that's what I feel like is going on with Medina is like, she's like, at what point is she going to turn around and just go, what are you talking about? Like, wasn't I the one? Like,
Well, and
I'm
also like
confused.
Medina didn't tell Joey who she had the, quote unquote altercation with.
Yes.
The whole thing is just like Syndney, and it didn't go the way that Syndney wanted it to go, because Syndney was telling, if you saw backstage or behind the scenes, that Syndney was probably telling Medina, you need to tell him, you need to tell Joey, you need to tell Joey who it was,
Yeah.
you need to tell Joey every detail about it, Joey needs to know, da 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 da. And then when Medina didn't give
Yes.
the info up, that then
Which
Syndney
was
was
just
like, well,
all-time all-star move.
that was a good move.
Incredibly mature. Maybe not, if you're trying to play the Syndney game, maybe not a right play. But if you're trying to be a quality individual,
Yes.
amazing play.
I was very happy that she didn't say who it was. I was, again, I'm not trying to take away her experience from her, but I was, when the term bullied gets thrown out, it's a word that it's like, this is going to get real sticky.
And I'm also just
So
like,
I'm like,
it was the most confusing thing to me.
but
yeah.
I'm just like, hey, I think she used the word pestered after. And I was like, I feel like maybe that's a better call, but was happy that she didn't say,
Sure.
Maria's name. That's for sure. But I just felt like Syndney, she wanted Medina. She talked to Medina about telling Joey.
Yes.
And then when Medina didn't, Syndney was like, as she kept saying to the camera, I have no choice but to speak up for everyone and tell Joey about Maria. Like she just kept saying, what do you want from me? I have no choice. And you're like, the energy that's going on here is very much giving me that this is a plan to get Maria out. And it's also very much giving me that Syndney was watching a lot of rom-coms, but maybe was like focusing on the wrong character.
Yes.
It's very much giving me the lead cheerleader in the Cinderella story.
Yes.
And who's saying, no, Hilary Duff, I'm going to go tell Chad Michael Murray that you were lying about who you are. And that makes you the villain. And you're like, no. Hilary Duff's not the villain. You, in fact, are being the villain right now. That's the energy that I'm getting, where it's so main character of like, I'm going to go be this person.
There's like 3 or 4 main character moments of hers in this that are
it's all time.
That literally are like
all time.
I've never felt more like she wrote her own script before coming on this show, and then she just had blank there, and then she just filled it in with Maria.
It was like
once
a
she
Mad
met her.
Libs.
It was a Mad Libs.
Yeah.
Like she literally is just like, okay, this is what I'll do, and then this is what I'll do, and then this is what I'll do, because no one else is interacting with her on this. It's not like
You mean the moment that she got up and was like, I've had enough of this hostile environment, she leaves? And then she comes back and is like, if anyone would like to join me and leave this hostile environment and to begin this revolution and join me and my team as we exit this, come with me, my children. Let us escape together into the night and leave this horrible place. And no one follows her out.
no one. It was literally like if you're in the king's court and you're like, I've had enough of this. And then like you've been talking to all of the other like noblemen and they're all like, cool, you can go ahead and hang yourself with this one. And then they're like, dang it. And then like he's by himself now. Like that's kind of what it felt like. It was hilariously scripted from like on her level, that she had this, I will say, an incredibly inflated view of herself. That is so I'm jealous of. Like I'm just like, how, like if I could think of myself as that incredible every day, I'd probably be just on cloud 9 all the time, because when it comes to the talent show, when it comes to her thinking that she'll lead a revolt, that everyone's on her team, when it comes to her talking at the pool.
Yes.
So we'll talk about everything, but one thing I will say is I knew I was really emotional about it up until the pool, because I was like, oh, that she's being annoying. Oh, she's being rude. Oh, she's making up bullshit about Maria. This is wrong. And then once I saw her at the pool, I realized, oh, it's all a plan. It's all BS. Right? It's all emotionless, because she's sitting there at the pool. All the other women are sitting there not talking about this. And she's going, there's nothing I can do. My hands are tied. And everyone's going like, what are you talking about? No one's even talking about her. We buried it. Her and Medina have talked and they're cool
and
now.
They're cool, yeah.
Nothing has been said. And then Syndney's sitting there going, ladies, we are out of option. And everybody's like, what? It's over. What are you talking? We must come up with a plan. And it's just like, no one is even talking about this anymore. And then she talks to Joey and she's throwing out words like, what did she say? Okay. Oh yeah. She called me weird and dumb. I'm like, this is first grade. Like,
no, and also
Ember might come back from school and be like, one kid said another kid was weird.
No, and by the way, it's like
literally
but it's also like roll the tapes back and you see Maria be like, this is making me feel weird. Yes. I'm like, she didn't call you weird, okay?
It's
like
classic.
She was talking about the situation. She said the situation is dumb.
Yeah.
Like she's not calling you that.
And then we see Maria like crying, feeling betrayed, feeling frustrated, feeling questioning herself, because so she's taking it seriously, like someone's actually attacking me. Syndney is absolutely being a villain here. Absolutely has a coordinated way that she is going to come at her, because no one else is corroborating the story. No one else is agreeing. Everyone's like, what? Okay.
Well, no, but that's the thing where it's like afterwards, I know we're going way now forward, but after Syndney and Maria speak to Joey, that moment where they're then all sitting together, where Jesse comes out and he's like, okay, we're going to have the rose ceremony now. And Syndney with the whole group of women is just like, well, I enjoyed my time with Joey. Unfortunately, I had to tell him about how I was attacked. And she's saying this in front of Maria and all the other women. And she's like, and it was, I'm so sorry that took up time. But obviously, I had no other choice but to say that I was attacked. And Maria's just looking at her. And Maria goes, well, hold on. You didn't answer a lot of his questions. And she's like, this is the manipulation, everyone. I'm like,
that's what I'm saying.
Wild.
It's getting to a point where it's almost theatrical.
But that's what I'm saying. I agree with your Mad Libs situation where it's like you came in and you had your idea of how you were going to work this Bachelor system. You were like, I'm going to get as much screen time as possible. And that's what it feels like every time they're by the pool and the camera zooms up on her. She's in the middle of saying something that no one else is talking about. And you're like, oh, this is a screen time move. And you know what? Listen, do I love my Maria? 1,000%. And I want whatever is best for Maria. And if this ends up getting Maria kicked off the show, I'm going to be furious. Absolutely furious.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about that more because I think it might, because Joey seems to not like drama. But I have to tell you, it's entertaining me.
It is,
and I don't like that she's hurting our Maria, but it is very entertaining, and I'll give her that. I'll give her that. It's main character energy, and I'll give her that.
It's tough. I mean, it makes me very uncomfortable, but I will say, if you feel like this is your only shot, at the end of the day, this isn't like a morality contest. This is a get people kicked off that are threatening to you.
And she's doing it.
It's getting in Maria's head. It's causing her to second guess what's going on. It's making her now think, oh, wait, I didn't know I wouldn't be cool with the girls. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's making her think that there's more issue versus you can clearly tell no one has an issue with her except her.
Yeah, there seems to be a few women who
don't I guess, object.
Who don't love Maria. And I think we've talked about that before, in earlier episodes where I was like, Maria has, and I adore her, but she has like, a big, bold personality, like Allison said. So I understand then some people being like, yeah, we don't all get along and we're not all of each other's favorite people. But Syndney seems to be the only one being like, oh my gosh, Maria is doing something that's like so negative to us. It was very much giving me to this energy. And that's what I really didn't like either, is that I'm like, Maria comes in and Maria is just like, she's got this great personality. She's so cool. And then she also loves horror movies. And that makes her like different and unique. And it's almost just like, we don't like her.
And I will say,
we don't like her. She likes horror movies. Like, get her out. Like, that's almost what it felt like. And then that moment.
She's very also bringing together. She's always like comforting people. And it's like, there is a big, like, I'm trying to bring people together.
Yes, 1,000%.
Which I do feel actually this season, tell me if I'm wrong, but majorly not a family vibe. Like, generally, you kind of have like one or two villains or one or two people who aren't really getting it. And then a lot of like, we're best friends now. We can't wait to hang later. That energy is not
I'll tell you
the
this.
vibe.
I'll tell you this. I feel like people are
like they're cool.
But I feel like they're being nice to each other and everyone's trying to get along.
But not besties.
But I think that it's because everyone really likes Joey.
Okay.
So there's a different energy going on versus, sorry, Zach. When Zach's the Bachelor, it's a little bit like, well, we're all going to go to paradise together.
That's
like, we're all going to be best friends. Versus this situation is like, we all really like Joey. So I like you, but I'm also jealous because you're spending time with him. So there's a lot of, it feels like there's complicated feelings with this one. But the whole thing with Maria, that was making me upset because I just love everything about Maria and that moment where, like you said, she seems to be bringing people together. Like Edwina said, she's so authentic and honest and just forthcoming. And I personally absolutely love that.
Yeah.
But also then too, when in her ITMs, she was talking about how she's like, I really thought I was going to be received better by all the women, and then started crying. My heart broke in a million pieces.
She's like, that was the last thing I was thinking about that I would have, like, we'd have problems.
And that makes perfect sense to me because you saw her from night one being so encouraging to everyone. And like, that's probably like, oh my God, this is not what I thought was going to happen. That's not the vibe that I was giving off. And then in my opinion, and then all of a sudden, now I've got Syndney making these wild claims about me because the thing she was saying to Joey, saying attacking, abuse. I mean, like not okay shit. And
weird,
Maria's
dumb.
And Maria's just like,
Maria's so just made up.
She's like, what? Like, that's heartbreaking.
Yeah, it's really tough.
So it's like, I got that did get me upset. Like, as much as it's entertaining to me, I was
I was feeling it.
Protect Maria.
Now the only hope I have is that when Joey wrapped up talking to Maria, is that he said, yeah, Maria seemed completely shocked and super genuine and way more real than what Syndney was saying.
Yeah, poor Joey has no idea what's going on at all. He's just like, what's happening right now?
And what I thought was
so
an interesting before we get going, one thing I will say that was really interesting, and I didn't know if it was going to play well for her or if it was going to hurt her.
Yeah.
Was when Maria said, "If you like her, you can't like me."
Yeah.
I thought, ooh, that's not true. Because you can like two different people, and just because two people interact a certain way or whatever, like,
and he doesn't know certain sides.
And he doesn't know all that.
Yeah.
So what it does is it puts pressure on him to choose in her mind. In his mind, like almost, So I don't know if I liked that move, even if she feels that way, which is totally legit, and we might all agree. But it was like, that puts like a pressure. So I'm afraid that might backfire. I don't know. I'm just on edge.
I'm also nervous because I think Syndney, when she's like, I have a strategy,
that she's going to use it.
I think Sydney's strategy is going to be to provoke Maria.
Yeah.
Because Maria has this gorgeous, big personality that I feel like Syndney is like, I'm going to keep poking at her
until she snaps on me or something.
Like, I think that's what her strategy is going to be. And I'm nervous because I just love Maria so much. Everything about her. I am obsessed with everything about her.
One of a kind, and that's what we always, you know what I mean? You always like, she's one of a kind. She's like
absolutely fabulous, and I just really don't want to lose her on this show. I don't want her to get kicked off, but I'm nervous. Me too. I'm very nervous.
It's so early to have this kind of like showdown, and that's what scares me.
It's also early for me to feel so attached to someone, and I'm like so attached to Maria. And I mean, obviously, if she does get sent home,
we will stop recapping.
We will stop recapping.
That'll be the end.
but she will be in paradise.
Yeah,
come on, unless she doesn't want to. But like, come on, Maria. A Syndney Maria showdown will happen in paradise. There is no question about that.
No question.
But okay, there's also some other reasons why potentially if Syndney. If it's not a plan, if it's not an ultimate villain plan that Syndney has put together, there's only one other option to me as to why it got to this point. And we'll talk about that when we talk about Mrs. Right in 1 second. Another quick pause.
Yes.
Here, another quick pause. Family, like we said before, the hair this season is looking gorgeous, fabulous. Everything about this cast is looking glam, to be quite honest. But I'll tell you what, the older I get, the more I realize that if I was going on this show, my main glam focus would have to be my skin, taking care of my skin. And like most of you know, Evan and I started using OneSkin about a year ago. And here is the fact. It is my most favorite skincare product and products I have ever used. I will never go back. I love OneSkin so much. I love everything about it. It's made my skin look and feel great over this past year. I'm hooked. OneSkin's topical supplements go beneath the surface to help your skin thrive at the cellular level. And by the way, for a limited time, our listeners will get an exclusive 15% off their first OneSkin purchase by using the code MOMDAD when they check out at oneskin.co.
So what is their secret? OneSkin's proprietary OS01 peptide. It's the first ingredient scientifically proven to reduce the buildup of senescent cells, those notorious zombie cells that contribute to skin aging. Fewer zombie cells means healthier, younger looking skin with fewer lines and wrinkles, reduced age spots, and a stronger natural barrier. That's something especially important for me this time of year. I'm just trying to I'm trying to go to a bar and get carded again. You know what I'm saying?
He's trying to look
That's all I'm trying to do.
That's all he's trying to do. We love their products.
Yeah.
It's been a year and it's absolutely fabulous. I use them for my face, my body. Like I've said before, I've seen the difference since using it. It also absorbs quickly and leaves my skin feeling really soft. It's fragrance free and I have super sensitive skin and personally it doesn't irritate it at all. I'm obsessed. But also what I love is that OneSkin believes the purpose of skincare is not just to improve how we look, but to optimize our skin biology so that it's more resilient to the aging process. OneSkin is more than skincare. It's about skin longevity, targeting the root causes of aging to help you look and feel your best at every age. Get started today with 15% off using MOMDAD at oneskin.co. That's 15% off oneskin.co with code MOMDAD. After you purchase, they'll ask you where you heard about them. Please support our show and tell them we sent you. It's time to expect more from your skincare routine. Invest in the health of your skin with OneSkin. Again, that's 15% off oneskin.co with code MOMDAD. All right, let's talk about Mrs. Right. It's very important to talk about Mrs. Right but of course we have Ask and Show Up. God bless. So happy to see all of our queens again.
Which I have a new tagline for.
Well, okay, what is?
So they say, You're asking, we're telling. I think mine's better.
Okay.
Ask and you shall receive.
Oh.
Asking, you shall receive. Because I
Asking
was like,
you-
oh no, you're leaving out Nancy.
Ask and you shall receive.
I like that.
If they're gonna do like
Very
a
good.
podcast or something, that's pretty good.
I like it.
I like how I want it to start with asking, not your asking. You know what I mean? So ladies, just consider it. And, we'll sign a deal.
I do like it too because it's like when they pop up on all these different Bachelor things, it's like ask and you shall receive. Like they kind of appear
Exactly.
like the gorgeous fairy that we're wishing upon a star for, or however fairies appear.
That's all I'm
Right?
saying.
I like it. I like
That's all I'm
it.
saying.
Well, they host the Mrs. Right date, and everybody, it's a pageant. It's a pageant, and we all know how I feel about a pageant.
You're either going to love it or you hate it, especially if you're in it. It's either one of those things where you're going to be like, oh, I kind of love this because I got some sweet skills, or I'm just a normal person and this is hell. And I got to come up with some bullshit. You know what I mean? Like,
I've said it before, it would be my worst nightmare. My worst nightmare on this show is to have to, and they also say, hey, it's going to be you have an hour to prep and it's in front of a live theater audience. Okay.
Yeah.
We're not talking a couple people, like a full theater of individuals watching you do a pageant. Okay. I've said before, we've talked a little bit about like what our skill would be.
Yeah.
And we've joked about it, but like in all seriousness, because clearly they were told to present their best skill, which is why they got upset later. We'll talk about it. But if you had to present, like you were like, producers were like, you have to present your best skill. Like Lee, you would make a gorgeous piece of art. You'd like bring out the wheel and you'd make like a gorgeous cup.
but he'd have to come up with a version of it that could be done in 2, 3, 4 minutes. You know what I mean? So that like that's the stressful part of it.
Sure, but it's also it would be so badass. It'd be so unique.
Yeah, and he's kind of he puts he sits and he's got these doing the ghost thing. Like it's perfect.
Yeah, it'd be perfect.
It's
At
perfect.
Internet Ceramics. You would be just in your full, just sexy and
Oh, it's
sensual, and it's
perfect.
perfect, right? That's what I'm saying. That's a great one, right?
Yes.
Let's be honest. If you had to go up and genuinely do a skill, would you sing?
Jeez, no, there's no way. I would have to come up with something funny and dumb. I'd have to go with the
But if they were like
Lexi thing.
But I'm saying no, if producers were backstage, because it seemed to me like
maybe
they were
checked it
really being told that they needed to do a skill. What do you do? I think that you would end up singing.
Why do you say honestly, that's so messed up that you're thinking I would do that, because there's no way I would do that. Because what does that mean? Sing like a cover, like I don't want to wait. You know what I mean? Like
For our love.
that's what I'm saying. Like a sing an original, because that's worse. You know what I mean? I don't really know.
I guess you probably couldn't do a cover because they'd have to pay
No,
for it.
so maybe like a comedy. You have to write a song.
No, you know what they'd probably let you do? They'd probably let you do a Michael Bolton cover, since they're paying for Michael
that's
Bolton
true.
all over the place.
That's true. Oh my gosh, I'm so stressed thinking about this right now. I'm not even there, and I'm
They
just like,
probably let you sing Almost Paradise because of Bachelor in Paradise. They seem to own the rights to that song.
what would you do?
I'd probably end up singing.
Oh yeah. Ugh, that is gross, dude. Like for me, Edwina singing was like, oh, okay, she doesn't sing and she's kind of pulling this off, so it made it like a sweet kind of thing.
Thought when Edwina did it, it was so badass because she literally goes, I don't sing. Right. She wrote an original and it was so bold. And normally I hate I'm forgetting words today, just FYI.
Singing is almost
a serenade. I hate a serenade, but because she was like, I don't know how to do this, but I'm going to choose something so risky and bold. I was like, bravo, Edwina. I thought it was cool.
And other than like Faith during Gary's season, singing is just one of the worst things anyone can do. Like, I hate to say it, like, I'm in the music business and singing's weird, man. Like, even like, it's like, unless you're literally a professional getting paid for it in a setting, I don't care who you are, singing is weird. And like, it's awkward, and it's like, what's the song gonna be about? Or you have to sit there and how good are you? I mean, you got to be so good. I don't know. It's just one of those things that it almost never works.
No.
And it's just so like I would rather try anything than sing.
Would you play the guitar?
Like if I was,
Would you play the drums? Oh my gosh, you'd play the drums, wouldn't you?
oh my gosh, all this would be just
Evan started off as a drummer, but he hasn't played drums in forever. They'd roll out a kit and Evan would be like, doom, doom, ga, doom, 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 ga, ga.
You know what I'd honestly do? I'd probably lie to the producers, say, yeah, bring out the drum set, and be like, well, to be honest with you, I told them I was going to do this, but actually, and then do like the Lexi Kiss thing. Like I would probably sabotage it and try to do something like that, because I know that like the talent thing.
It's a risky choice, so you might get the producers upset if you're out here lying to them, and then they're going to make your life hell, because that's what they're supposed to do.
Yeah.
I think you'd end up singing.
I
think you're given 1 hour and you have to figure out what to do. You end up singing.
You know what I'd probably do, to be honest with you, is before I got on the show.
Or you show off your hockey skills. You're like, ooh, look at me. I can
give me a puck and a net and I shoot pucks. Oh God, all my skills suck.
That's why the pageant is a nightmare. It's like, figure out what to do in an hour. And this is why.
I hate to say, Maria's skill is the perfect skill for a pageant.
Hey, Maria. Holy hell!
Out of nowhere, you're like an Olympic
gymnast.
Oh.
Like this woman
backflip into splits.
I mean, like flawlessly. Like all of a sudden she started, and I'm like, excusez-moi.
The actual only person up here with the skill, with the skill one. Everyone else is kind of like, we're doing whatever and like weird, like yeah. And then she comes up and just backflip, split, bam.
It was insane. I was like, oh my God, the heiress of the Sprinkle Company is also an Olympic gymnast. Incredible. Put that on a cupcake.
Seriously.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it's unbelievable. But it was, but that's why I get when everyone was annoyed after.
Yeah.
And then I feel like everybody was talking online about like, why are they upset at Lexi? And here's the thing. I don't think anyone should be upset at Lexi. Lexi pulled a move out and a half. Lexi during the talent show portion. So what they had to do is they had to do essentially a runway walk with pajamas, a Q&A moment with the ladies of Askin, and then a talent. And Lexi ends up being like, hey, I've been told I'm the best kisser ever. So she pulls Joey up and is like, let's make out and see if it's true.
Right.
Great call.
Smart.
So smart. You can't be mad at Lexi for doing that. You can't get mad at Lexi. But where I had empathy for the women is the moment that Maria sat down with Joey. And I have to say, I could talk about Maria all day, but a communicator.
Yeah.
Because I felt like the way that Maria communicated it, I got it. Where she was like, hey, Joey, I'm a little annoyed that the kiss won because now I feel embarrassed about like leaving it all out on the stage for the talent portion. And then it clicked for me. I'm like, oh my God, all these women were probably told like they need to do a talent.
Yeah.
We're panicking, thinking, what are we supposed to do? Edwina's like, I guess I'll write a song. And that takes so much courage, right? And then you know that's probably what they were told to do. And then all of a sudden, when the kiss wins, everyone realizes, oh shit, I just did what I did on national television. And now it makes me feel like I'm trying to almost show off to the world, like, check out my skill set.
Yeah.
And it's like, if I could have been funny, that's the hit. That is what I was getting from the Maria conversation where I'm like, oh, I think they thought that they had to be like serious about it.
Yeah.
And that's why. But you can't be mad at Lexi because Lexi,
in my opinion, like even Joey said to Maria, like, you think I care? I didn't care about a talent. That has nothing to do with the talent. It had to be with your personality.
Doesn't care.
But what I'm saying is like, if you watched the show before, you know that none of these challenges have anything to do with the actual challenge.
I'm getting the vibe that it was very much encouraged
to like really
to
do
be
it.
Like, you need to do a talent. Like, it needs to be serious. Like, they'll probably be like, hey, Joey's a serious guy.
He's really, a very serious guy.
He's an athlete. He appreciates competition. You've seen him these past couple dates. He likes when people really, really show up and show out. So maybe that was a little bit like, okay, shit, I gotta leave it all out on the dance floor. And we see Syndney. So Syndney,
the whole time is just like, I'm the shit.
She's an ITM saying, listen, this is my bread and butter. I was in a teen pageant for Miss Massachusetts when I was 16. And so this is meant for me. Now, she ends up doing a cheerleading routine.
Yeah.
This is the only other thing about the whole Syndney of it all that I go, she's either, the Maria situation is either she sees her as competition and she's trying to get her out, or Maria is the spitting image of whoever beat Syndney in the Miss Massachusetts when she was 16, and she's triggered as hell by Maria.
Yeah.
Because I don't think we heard Miss Syndney say that she won Miss Massachusetts. Just that she was in it. And then she's like, I'm going to crush this talent portion.
It was invite only, and she invited herself.
She invited herself, and she's like, I'm going to crush this portion of the talent show. Maria goes up before her and performs an Olympic level routine.
Yeah.
And you know, she's spiraling. She is spiraling because she's already told all these women that she was in pageants before, that she's going to crush it. And we hear this enough because Edwina in ITMs is like, yeah, Syndney kept talking about how amazing she was going to be. So you know she was backstage talking about it nonstop. She thinks no one else can do it. You know, Maria fully downplayed her skill. Maria's probably like, oh God, I guess I'll just...
Well, she when they said,
I took
this is going to be
gymnastics when I was in 6th grade.
They said when they announced it, the pageant, she went, but then she had maybe the only skill that like I would be absolutely so stoked to show off.
100%.
So my favorite, this really confused me when it came to Syndney.
Okay.
It was like, I agree with you, but I'm like, either she's a genius or she's one of those people that goes to American Idol who you're like, how did you think you were going to win this? You know how they're like, and you're like, oh my God. And the guy's like, so am I on to the next round? And they're like, what? Yeah. That's either Syndney, either she's one of those completely oblivious people that show up on American Idol.
Sure.
Or she's a genius and she's like, she will not break character once. And she's just going to hold the line the whole way. Because when she was saying, I'm going to crush this competition.
Yeah.
And she had arguably by far the worst, not even close.
She did a cheer routine.
But it wasn't a cheer routine. She walked out and just went, did letters.
Yes.
So I'll make up one right now. Love. I like Joey. He's for me. Everyone. OVE. I like Joey. He's for me. And that was the thing. I'm like, that's not a skill. That's just repeating some words. There's nothing.
I mean, you do have to concentrate on the spelling aspect of it all.
I mean, it's just like, I'm just so
I probably would get lost. I'm not a great speller.
But then she was trying to get the crowd going and no one was going. It was just like, either she's incredibly well calculated or we are watching American Idol 2005.
Yes. Now I will say this. It was dead silence in the audience. There's no way that you have the audience and they're literally sitting staring at this woman who's trying to have everybody join and no one is... It wasn't as bad as it looked, right? So we know that. There's no way it was as bad as it looked. But it was uncomfortable, okay? It was uncomfortable. And especially when she's probably, again, backstage being like, this is my life. This is my bread and butter. This is my soul's work.
If she was sweet and charming about it and being like, I have nothing, but let's just be funny. That's the thing.
Or if she was...
But selling yourself on I'm killing it, mind-blowing.
Yeah. But what I'm saying, though, specifically is then when Maria, her arch nemesis, comes out and just takes it home, that's when I think it's either she's got a plan or Maria is the undoing of her because she reminds her of the woman who won Miss Massachusetts 16-year-old version back however many years ago.
Absolutely.
And she's now spiraling and was like, I must take out my competition. I must be Miss Massachusetts. That's all she sees.
Syndney... That was she's making very pageant moves,
maybe
political.
It's old Syndney coming out. Maybe, she's rewatching this now going, damn, I let old Syndney come out. We had worked on it and we're not doing that anymore, but old Syndney came out.
I've been working on it.
Yeah, no, for sure. You never know. It's pageant Syndney's coming out and it's not,
we snap back into some of our old habits.
That's what I'm saying. But listen, they didn't win. Who won was Lexi with the makeout. Yeah. Also, I have to say during the Q&A portion, we had Lexi got a softball.
Yes.
And that seemed very clear. They asked Maria, they were like, what do you do after 30 years in a relationship when the bedroom starts to get boring? And I'm like, you're asking her something she doesn't know anything about. You're asking 30 years, what are you going to do when you guys are, bored of each other? And she had a cute, sweet answer. And they were giving a couple of the other women sexy questions. Yeah, right. And then Lexi came out and they're like, what's your most favorite thing about Joey?
Yeah.
And you're kind of like, okay, well, now she's going to look great. Yeah. And it's not hard to make Lexi look great because Lexi seems amazing.
But you can definitely get set up to kind of win or look a certain way.
Just getting a vibe that, you know, they see the potential and they're like, okay, we're taking care of this person.
Yep,
and I get it because she seems, again, with her whole art situation last episode, it was hilarious. He seems very much into her, very charmed by her. She seems lovely. So it's looking good for her.
Yes.
Let's talk a little bit about the night portion of this group date. But before that, quick pause. Okay, family, here's the thing. We're all thinking it, so I'm just going to say it. The mansion needs a furniture update.
Agreed.
Okay? The mansion needs a furniture update stat. The indoor furniture, the outdoor furniture, an update is needed. And you know, the only ones we would trust to provide that gorgeous, chic, high quality furniture with a great price tag would be Article. Oh, article.com, baby. You know, we have loved Article for years. We've purchased many of their pieces over the years, a couch, chairs, dining room table, side pieces, and more. And every time we get a piece from Article, we are thrilled. They really are the best. Evan always has article.com pulled up, a tab on your computer.
The amount of saved
browsing.
items is insane.
Yes.
You got to go on their website. They seriously have the best pieces and the prices. Thanks to their online only model, they really have incredible prices. Article's team of designers are all about finding the perfect balance between style, quality, price. They're dedicated to thoughtful craftsmanship that stands the test of time and really looks good doing it. Then their curated assortment of mid-century modern, coastal, industrial, Scandinavian, and boho designs really makes furniture shopping super simple.
Article offers a fast, affordable shipping across the US and Canada. Plus, they won't leave you waiting around. You pick the delivery time and they'll send you updates every step of the way. And they have an amazing customer care team. Their customer care team is fantastic. Article is offering our listeners $50 off your first purchase of $100 or more. To claim, visit article.com/momdad and the discount will automatically be applied at checkout. That's article.com/momdad for $50 off your first purchase of $100 or more. Article.com/momdad. Okay, so the night portion of this date, Lexi still has her sash on, which I lived for, by the way. She's like, I will not allow these other women to make me feel bad for doing that killer kiss.
Yeah,
okay?
I am going to rock this.
I'm sorry that everybody feels awkward now because you left it all out there and you really showed America that you really believe in your talents and skills and you really wanted to demonstrate them for Joey. But I'm keeping the sash on. But Joey starts to have some one-on-one moments.
Yeah.
He's got one with Kelsey A. Kelsey A is cute, cute, cute. He keeps saying there's something about Kelsey A. Joey is locked in. And in fact, he says he can't believe how strongly he feels about her, considering they've barely spent any time together. We've barely seen Kelsey A. And he's vibing with her so hard, he gives her the group date rose. There's something about her.
I'm starting to feel like Joey is a crusher.
Oh, where he gets crushes?
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like he kind of falls in love with people from afar.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like that's the vibe I'm getting from him. That like he sees people and then he like crushes.
Yeah.
I feel like he has crushes.
Yeah.
That like the Kelsey thing, unless they're cutting a bunch of stuff, I feel like he kind of has a crush on her from afar, and like whenever he gets to talk to her, he's excited, and then he gives her the rose. Yeah. Versus like other people are going to grow together with him. Other people he's not going to have a connection with. But I feel like he does have a couple crushes that it's like, without any context, it's just like, here.
Well, I mean, listen, later in the episode, he gives the second group date, nighttime portion, he gives Caitlin the group date rose, and we didn't see a lot of Caitlin either. So
the two roses were like given to the people that we've seen almost the least when it comes to one-on-one conversations.
I'm kind of living for this. I was like, Joey's keeping us on our toes. Yeah. He is like, I'm going to give the roses to who I have a crushie on, like 100%. Like we're not doing this narrative. I'm going to give it to who I'm vibing with, even if I didn't get to spend a ton of time with that person. But simultaneously, I will continue to stand by the fact that I think that Joey's energy is like he's in love with everyone. And so I really do feel like I cannot predict who the top 3 or 4 are going to be. I really don't know. Because every time he talks to somebody, I'm like, oh, wow, big chemistry here.
Well, that's what we talked about last week. Is it's kind of like you never know who he likes or doesn't like.
It's like
kind of the same treatment to everybody.
This entire episode, he sits with Lexi. I'm like, wow, she's the one. Big chemistry.
Energy.
He sits with Kelsey A. That's it. Caitlin, that's it. Jen, I'm like 100%. He sits again with Daisy. I'm like, that's the one who is around. Like every single person. I'm like, oh, that's his person.
Yeah.
So this is going to be, I think, a tailspin at the end here.
One thing I will say, I feel like I'm noticing though, is that Chill and Smiley, basically himself,
Yeah,
is what he likes.
His type is
You
Joey.
know what I mean? Like his type is Joey. You know what I mean? Because like the ones that he's like immediate rose to, it's been like mellow, smile, chill, and it's like Rose. So I don't know. We'll see. I feel like it's the ones that aren't exactly like that we're going to be like, how long will they last? I don't know.
He had the all-time moment when he sat with Maria, by the way.
Oh my God.
He was like, she was talking about how she was embarrassed during the talent show. And he was like, I have to be honest with you. I'm very low-key from time to time.
And you're like, oh, really?
I'm like, Joey?
I'd love to see this guy's like, what is it, like the Whoop? Because it's just like, they're, you know what I mean? They're like the heart monitor. Because like there's no, they're like having to check to make sure it's not broken because there's just no needle move. His resting heart rate
so
is
chill.
10 and it just stays there all that. Like, I know this could be shocking for you, but I can be a mellow dude sometimes. It's like, hey man, the most obvious statement of the century. No, he said sometimes too. He said, I can be super mellow sometimes.
But
it's
that
like,
means that he like has the perspective of himself where he's like, I'm kind of wild.
I'm crazy, man. And I can mellow out sometimes.
I will say during the Mrs. Right competition, he had a couple moments where I was like, I think we're getting the Bachelor edit.
I want to see drunk Joey.
For sure. But I also think he's way more playful than we're seeing.
I agree.
Because he had a couple one-liners throughout this episode where I was like, he's a little playful boy.
I do want to get Joey drunk one of these nights. You know what I mean? 100%. I want to see him just kind of rip it up a little bit. I want to see Joey unhinged.
I want to see unhinged Joey too. But he has a conversation with Medina. And this is the moment where, we see that obviously it's like, hey, you got to talk to her about what the drama is, because he was pushing the conversation and she clearly was like, I don't need to talk about it. He's like, you want to talk about it? And she goes, mm-mm. She goes, mm-mm, I don't want to.
And he's like, but you should though, right?
But I want you to feel safe.
It's like, they're asking me to talk about it. So can you please tell me something I can work with here?
She's like, I don't want to talk about it. But that's when then she's like, I felt bullied. That was the one move, like I said on Medina's, where I was like, again, I'm not trying to take away how she felt, but I was like, it's that word. That word has a lot of context to it. And he locked onto that word and he's like, I don't want any bullying going on.
Right. Which is understandable. I mean, it's a big word.
That's what I'm saying. So that was the only thing where I was like, oh man.
Did you go a little too far there, maybe?
In general, other than that, it was like, she said to him, like, I'm not going to say who it is. I don't want to talk about it. And I really appreciated that. I feel like we never get that on this show.
Yeah.
And then Joey just pops right in and he's just like, hey, everybody. I know there's been a lot of drama. And they're like, wait, what?
No one knows about it. That one little thing that happened.
And he's like, I heard the word bullying and we're going to essentially get to the bottom of it. And as soon as that happened, it was like Medina, she said, I'm the one who said something, which I felt like was a move that was not a quote unquote smart move as far as playing the game, but I appreciated it as a viewer where I'm like, oh, she's being transparent and honest and letting Maria know what direction it's coming from. I felt like the way that then Maria immediately handled it was beautiful.
Yeah.
She looked at Medina and is like, I'm so sorry you felt that way. Like, obviously, it's jarring to hear that. And she kept her composure. And she was like, I'm so sorry that it made you feel that way. But I do want to move forward together. And if this ever comes up again, let's talk about it, you and me. And then Syndney was just like, I also felt bullied.
Yeah. My favorite though was that as this is happening, like if you're watching on the camera now, if right next to me is Medina and I'm Syndney, immediately as they start talking, Sydney just starts going like this, like, yeah, we you hurt us and you'll never sit with us again at our lunch table. And like, it was just, she kept inching closer and closer to Medina. And then it was like, it was so silly. Maria's just like, yeah, I'm sorry. And she's like, you should be sorry to us because of what we've gone through. I cannot believe we're even here now. And we haven't had to go home for therapy. And it's just like, oh my God. That's what feels just like so crazy about the whole thing is like,
I don't want to.
Is this calculated or not? Because if it's not, it's wild.
I don't want to speak for Medina, but I feel like the look on Medina's face.
Ick city, dude.
Throughout
She's like,
this episode was like, why have I tried to?
Why am I friends with her?
Relationship with her right now? Like, I need a little bit of space, please. I don't want to be associated right now. Because again, later in the episode, we see Medina and Maria having a one-on-one conversation. That, by the way, bravo, gorgeously healthy,
super chill
in the midst of cameras in your face, drama.
Even the interaction over the fire with everyone. Her and Medina was like, okay, yeah, okay. And she just show me, oh yeah, I can get that. Okay, we're cool.
Yeah,
and then Syndney was just like, we're not cool.
Yeah, and I felt like it was a really honest word. Then Maria even was saying to her, like, bullied, like, that word, like, I've been. And Medina was a little bit like, yeah, no, I hear you.
Yeah.
I just was feeling like they handled it so beautifully, in my opinion. Now, I know a lot of people are kind of like the fact that Medina even brought this up in the first place. Here's my thing. I think that, like, again, we talked about it before last week. It sucks, and I feel like it's absolute garbage that our culture is the way it is. But with our culture and even the Batch Nation culture, like, there is ageism, and it's ridiculous because 31 is so young. But like, I don't want to take that away from her because unfortunately that's just how our culture, the narrative and all of that. And I don't feel like Medina made it a big deal. I feel like if we're being real,
she even said, I shouldn't have said that out loud.
Yeah, but I feel like Syndney is the fire starter in this. And now Maria and Medina are having to deal with, the fallout. Now we do see a preview of, I think it was Leia talking to Medina in next week's episode, where it seems to be a little bit of a confrontation so I don't know if Medina is getting, busted for maybe having another problem with somebody. I don't know. We'll see.
Well, and yeah, that's true. And Leia and Syndney were on the couch talking about
that's true
too. But I was like, wait a second, what's going on? We haven't seen a single person. Like, people have said, oh, she's loud. She's got like a outgoing personality, but Leia was the only other person we saw on camera being like, well, she could go home. We wouldn't be sad. And I was like, yeah, interesting.
Maybe Leia and Syndney are frustrated that Medina is not
like coming after her,
is not like maybe on their side of this argument. Maybe now Medina's a little bit like, you guys let it go. But I mean, it was just also too, there was a moment that was absolutely making me cackle. And it was when the ladies all first sat down.
Yeah.
When the night portion started, Edwina was talking about how she was frustrated that Lexi got the group date that not the group date rose, that she won the date because that wasn't, they were all doing their talents and it was just the kiss. And then Syndney made the comment right away where she was like, listen, I've done this my whole life and it was, and this was hard for me too, because, I put a lot of effort into that, but like, listen, Lexi's my girl, so I'm not going to say anything. And you saw Edwina right away be like, hey, don't do that. Lexi's my girl too. I would say this to her face because I felt like Edwina was clocking, oh no, Sydney's going to do a Medina Maria to me.
She's going to walk over to Lexi and be like, by the way, Edwina was talking shit.
Exactly. I feel like when Edwina clocked it and she was like, no, don't put me in this position. Because I felt like that was what Syndney was going to start stirring and doing.
Which I think is a big reason why everyone is not speaking up on behalf of Maria in a big way.
Yes.
They're afraid that Sydney's going to
be like,
come after them.
Yep. I think so too.
So they're like, whoa, if this girl can come up with this big of a problem and story over this tiny of a thing, if I actually confront her with anything, I got a target on my back in a big way. Yeah. So everyone's like,
villain genius.
If the target's not on me, I don't care what happens.
Villain genius. Well, Syndney then does her grand walk away and just shout out to Maria, who just handled it like an absolute queen. If I would have been Maria, I'll be real with you, I would have snapped. I would have been talking at a louder volume and I would have been losing my shit. You would have gotten some wild ITMs out of me after that. I'm serious. If I was Maria, you take me to the ITM, I'd be like, what the fuck is happening? Right. What is her problem? What is her, like, I would have been going off You didn't get that.
Didn't get that.
Maria
and I
was
was
just-
yelling at the TV the whole time. I was like, you got this, Maria. Keep it calm. Don't freak out. If you freak out, you will then look bad. Keep it together.
He was talking to Maria the whole time.
We got this.
You and I, we got this together,
Together
girl.
we can do this.
It was absolutely sending me.
It's like, when someone scores a touchdown, like, we did it. This is our and if it's like, we got this, Maria, we did. Okay, we did not panic. Next time, okay, we got the double date coming up. We gotta keep it together.
Okay, so next we have the one-on-one with Jenn. Can we one last pause, and then we're gonna dive into this one-on-one with Jenn. Family, first of all, I am so curious. What is Joey always drinking? I'm so curious.
I don't know.
Joey, slide into the DMs. Let us know what your drink of choice is during these cocktail parties and dinners. I'm always so curious. I will tell you this. We all know if I was on this show, we know what my drink of choice would be. It would obviously be a white wine. Okay. A long time choice. I'm a big Chardonnay fan. And for a long time, I just drank the same Chardonnay, which is boring. And then I decided I wanted to try something new, expand my palate by trying new wines. And the best way I found is through First Leaf. With personalized wines and convenient shipping, First Leaf makes it easy to explore new wines from around the world. I love First Leaf because they make it super easy to get personalized wine boxes delivered on my schedule. I can choose the day of my wine delivery, and to get my tailored box of wines from First Leaf, all I had to do was answer some quick questions about my likes and dislikes on their website, and their expert team selected a customized assortment of world-class wines based on my preferences. And when I say my preferences, I mean mine and Evan's preferences, because for some reason we have the exact same taste in wine, which is wonderful. And I gotta tell you, over the years, First Leaf has perfected our shipment of wine exactly to our taste. Every time a shipment comes in, we get so excited because we discover a brand new wine that we love.
Yeah, and I'm a crispy king. I love my Sauvignon Blanc.
Yeah, he loves it.
My Pinot Gris.
He loves it.
And since First Leaf delivers personalized wines right to our door, we can kick back and try new wines from the comfort of our cozy couch, all priced lower than what we would have paid at a wine store. Plus, if we get a bottle or shipment that we're not loving, we don't have to worry because First Leaf has 100% satisfaction guarantee.
Which is so amazing. But TBH, we've always loved the wine that they give us. It's just the best. They know me. They know me. They know us. Try something new this year with First Leaf. Go to tryfirstleaf.com/momdad to sign up, and you'll get your first 6 hand-curated bottles for just $44.95. That's tryfirstleaf.com/momdad. Tryfirstleaf.com/momdad. And by the way, it's a great deal because these are nice bottles of wine.
Really good.
This is like nice wine.
Really good.
Okay, so let's get into this one-on-one with Jenn, which is another individual who, after watching their one-on-one date, I was like, this could be Joey's wife. I was like, him and Jenn have a special, you kept talking about it when we were watching it. They got a special energy going on.
Just don't have to try.
It felt
it's
very
like whenever you don't have to try,
seamless.
I'm always a little bit like, oh, interesting. When this is a first date. Generally, it's like, totally, what's your favorite thing? And it's like, can be very like, you can be anxious. You can be like really trying to make a good impression. She's like shockingly not interested in like trying to make an impression and just like being.
She's very, I feel very comfortable watching her.
You can tell that she's extremely comfortable with herself. And so whenever someone's like that, it's like, whoa, she's not like going out of her way to like ask a million questions just because.
Yeah.
She's just letting the energy flow. And because of that, they're like very mellow together, very sweet. No one's forcing conversation. It felt like they had been together for kind of a while.
Yeah, that was the energy I got. I felt like they had known each other for a really long time. There were moments where Joey, in Joey fashion, was really quiet in certain, when the drones were going off. And we'll get to that. But it didn't feel uncomfortable.
Yeah.
It felt like
calm.
Like long-time relationship. It doesn't hurt that she's absolutely stunning. I mean, she is so beautiful.
Smoke show. Absolute smoke.
She's so stunning. It's bewildering.
Yeah, it's easy to be chill and quiet when you're smoking. We talked about this last week. It's like Joey and her, they're like, well, we're just smokes, so we're just chill. Like, you don't have to say a lot when you're smokes. You know what I mean? Let my face do the talking.
Yeah, let the records show. But they ended up going, they got wetsuits and surfboards. Of course, she's terrified of, they choose the individual who's absolutely terrified of sharks.
Always.
And they're like, hey, we're going to make you go surfing for the first time. But she was bold. She did it. We didn't have like any meltdown. I would have not been able to do this date because I do wear contacts. So when I saw the waves hitting them, I'd be like, there's my contacts floating out of my eyes. I'd have to wear huge goggles on the date.
You're like Ember. Ember wears goggles at the beach, by the way.
It's so
It's
cute.
really cute. So like, because you know that she doesn't like the water getting in her eyes, so
Yeah.
you're gonna be like Ember, just like goggles surfing.
I would have had huge goggles to protect my contacts. Like
So
I need to
funny.
keep them in. Anyway, I was just, of course, I'm putting myself in
You're
a
feeling
situation.
that
And I was
stress.
like, I would have had to be like, excuse me, producers,
Right.
like wear my prescription goggles. So they're then making out. They're rolling around.
Yeah.
It's
I mean,
it's steamy.
it's movie like.
And then, they end up, let me break this down, everybody. I had a moment, I had an out of body experience where I was
Whoa.
watching it and I go, it's 2024 and I'm watching two people in a cemetery get a drone show performed in front of them where the guy is asking if she will accept this rose via drones. I'm like, what is this world?
Right.
Like what is happening right now
Right.
with Michael Bolton's latest single blaring in the background? Which, by the way, there's the key. That's how they afforded Michael Bolton. They're like, hey, we'll pay for you to come on, but then Michael Bolton's like, make sure you play my new
Yes.
single throughout the whole rest of the show.
Yeah.
And if you don't think we're getting the Michael Bolton single blaring on After the Final Rose, you are dead wrong. Okay, that thing is going to be the theme. That is the song of the season.
Absolutely.
The song of the season. But that was pretty wild.
Yeah, it was wild, and I was
Instead
just.
of fireworks, full drones. How cool is that?
It was very cool. Drone shows to me, I think are very cool.
I know, even though the sound freaks me out.
Yeah, because it sounds like 100 bees coming at you. But like,
Yeah.
it is incredible, right? But it is
like
it
the
is
hive.
incredible to think that like there's like 500 drones in the sky that are perfectly coordinated, creating art.
Synchronized
Now,
swimming.
my only beef with these
Synchronized
two,
swimming of the sky.
exactly, sky swimming, is the only beef I have with these two is their reactions are so uneventful
Because
that
they're
like
so
a
mellow.
massive drone show is creating a 3D
Story
rose in
for
the
you.
sky,
Yeah.
100 feet tall, and they're like, whoa. And I'm like, what is it going to take to get these guys' pulse up? Because they're both rocking the Whoop at 10. Like, I'm trying to like, what is it going to take to get the pulse up? Because I would have been like, oh shit. Like, I would have been like, this is epic.
But maybe
it was
they're-
just like crazy.
But maybe like they're in their heads. Maybe they're like, okay, am I
Thinking,
going to be that?
should I kiss? Should we not kiss?
Right.
That
Or
whole
also
thing?
like, do I want to be the person who's like losing my shit over the drone show?
Yeah, because like if you lose your shit and the other person doesn't, then you're just kind of losing your shit by yourself, and you look a little like.
But then you're like the forever meme of the guy losing his shit over the drone.
That is true.
just think there's a lot to
I
think
think I
about.
just own that. You know, I just own. But no, they're just so mellow. They're just like crazy.
So mellow.
Yeah,
So mellow.
they're like aliens are here. Crazy.
It's absolutely wild.
Did you hear about the alien that came by? Yeah, it's crazy.
What are
They're
those
like,
UFOs? What?
Yeah, they came by.
Interesting, Crazy.
It's kind of mellow.
But aside from the incredible drone show,
Yeah.
their night portion went very well. I mean, Jenn decided to be extremely vulnerable
Yeah.
with Joey and talk about her past where, she was raised in a home and it was tumultuous and it was like a broken home, but they still stayed together for
Yeah.
a long time and didn't have a good relationship with her dad. And then they don't speak anymore. And, I just want to say, sending love to Jenn and also shout out to her because being on this show, being on The Bachelor, when there's very much that like expectation of you come in and you're like, my parents have been together for 35 years. And that means
I want the love my parents had, which
and
is
that
like
means
the thing.
that means that I know what a good relationship looks like. And so
true.
here I am, offering this tale up to you. And I have this part of my story that's been hard, but like my parents were together. There's very much that energy on the show. So anytime there's someone who's willing to be really honest about, their background with their family and their parents and a broken home, I just want to say shout out to you, Jenn, as someone who comes from a broken home. Jenn, there's the conversation where she was saying like, I didn't observe what a type of love that I want looks like.
Yeah.
And sending that love to Jenn where it's like, you're going to get the love that you deserve. And now you know the type of love that you want to see. And yeah, I just wanted to say that because
I think that's
it takes
important.
a lot of courage.
Yeah,
It takes a lot of courage.
Really,
and also,
courageous.
it's also then a conversation that she then has already now had with Joey. If she ends up getting to hometowns, he
Right.
knows that she doesn't have a relationship with her dad, and
Exactly.
so they've already gone there now in conversation, emotional. It's not something that she has to feel the nerves that she has to bring up later on. And
unless she has a major blowout problem that comes out of nowhere, I mean, she's a hometowns.
she has to be.
I mean, it
hometowns,
just seems like one of those things you can just kind of forget about her now.
right. Where
We'll
you're
deal
like,
with everybody else because she's just going to be there.
yeah, she's locked in.
Unless
That's what
something
it feels
bad
like.
happens, like you can just never cut to her again, and because she's going to show up to hometowns.
I feel like that.
Like
too.
it kind of feels like that.
She's got to be
It's kind of
hometowns.
locked and loaded.
It's got to be hometowns.
Yeah.
Loved her.
Yeah.
Loved her.
Just
Absolutely.
literally, yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect.
All right. Then we have the second group date, which is a tennis date.
yeah.
James Blake, Pam Shriver show up, tennis legends. Joey, we see him actually. The pulse is going up. He's nerding out a
Went
little
to
bit over his
12.
tennis.
Yeah, went to 12.
He's like, oh shit.
He's legally alive.
The people are going to come for you.
I'm just kidding, everyone. Chill. Chill.
The people are going to, you cannot say anything against, you cannot spew
Joey's
any.
Listen, my issue is this. He's so perfect.
Yeah.
That we have to like make up some bullshit like his pulse is low to just have any sort of commentary about Joey, or we'll just never talk about Joey. We'll talk about only the women. So my funny little banter is that he's mellow, okay? So don't come for me. Like that's so like the least worst thing that you could have is like the problem.
I don't think anyone's coming for you, but I like to imagine
Yeah,
it.
it's like everyone's like, his pulse is not that low. Pulse gate.
Pulse gate, exactly. Joey, care to make a statement?
He goes on his thing. He's like, actually, I've been holding my whoop. Here's actually where I'm at.
But okay, so yes, tennis date. I do have to tell you this. If I was Joey, I would not want a tennis date because I'm like, I am a tennis pro. I am an instructor and I will be taken out of the romance because I will automatically be analyzing everyone's swings. Like I could tell watching him when he was watching the women, he was taken out of the romance for a second and was like genuinely watching how they were swinging.
Yeah.
And was like, hey, I need to help you with this. And I'd be like, let's not intertwine work. Can we not bring work into this for me? Like,
Yeah.
I'm taking a break from work for 8 weeks to film this. Like, let's not also bring work in. And I'd be so intimidated if I was one of the women.
Yeah.
Like, Evan, imagine me on a tennis date. It's not going to go well. I'm going to biff that thing. And then
You should just pull an April and just fake an injury.
I'd have to fake an
That
injury.
would have been the move.
I'd have to fake an injury because I'm like, you're going to get the ick from watching me, sir, try to play tennis.
You should
Like,
have called in sick that day. Be like, I got the flu.
yeah. Like, I'm so
You
sorry.
just got to know. Be like, hey, I'm going to protect myself from what I will give you.
And I'm like, I would genuinely rather you just send me home this week than have to show my tennis skills on public television.
record.
No, I'm like, it's not going to happen. You guys, you're not going to get me this time. If you bring in an
I
escape
think
room
you'd
date.
surprise. Oh, there you
Which, by the way, have they ever done that? And what
great
a
idea.
waste.
Well, really great idea, actually.
Come on, escape room date.
Escape room date's a vibe.
Come on, escape room
We
date.
just gave you gold.
But then Jesse shows up with an air horn,
Yeah.
wearing the same outfit he was wearing during the Mrs. Right competition, I
Yeah.
believe.
Listen.
So I'm curious about the order of filming of
And I
these.
love you, Jesse. And that outfit's epic. I mean, the loafers with the jeans and the jacket is just it's like a Pinterest board for like tall guy. It's just he looks like a Pinterest board for like guy. You know what I mean? Like it's just the everything about
you
him.
look
I
at the
love him.
handsome tall man.
Handsome tall man. Put him in loafers, no socks,
Jeans.
because it's like casual. And then you know what I mean? It's just classic. Anyway,
But I won't allow any Jesse slander this year because Jesse's working a lot.
he's killing it.
He's working a lot.
He's working a lot.
He's in every group date hosting a wedding, hosting Mrs. Right. I mean, like, granted, the Askin ladies were there, but like, you know, he's involved in this. He's involved in the tennis. He's hosted. He's doing the KFC plugs at the end.
Okay,
He's
well, no,
giving
that's
us,
what I wanted to say.
Yeah.
My favorite thing he's ever done. It was
the
an
very
ad.
end of the KFC?
My favorite thing he's ever done was the KFC thing. He was mocking himself. He was
It was
mocking the scenario.
it was actually gorgeous.
Actually a moment. I was like, whoa, I like this side of him.
When Jay Palmer was just like, what am I supposed to say? Kick rocks, ladies?
He's like, beat it, ladies. Like, I loved it. He's like,
was
why do we even
great.
say this? So dumb.
I
Like,
feel
I thought
like-
it was, I was like, oh, I like this.
you know, he's my dream guest now.
I'd love to give him a couple cocktails, hang out in the pod.
He's kind of my dream guest now.
Ooh.
I feel like he's kind of.
I feel like he can cut loose.
I also kind of feel like he's everything. I feel like he's kind of in on the joke.
I think so. Definitely. We got to get him on.
Dream guest.
Jay
Palmer, I'm sliding into those DMs again. I'm gonna go now.
He responded fast.
I'm gonna go from sending you Bigfoot photos to requesting your presence on the podcast.
I would definitely be in a Bigfoot costume if he came on.
You'd obviously have to.
Full costume.
You'd obviously have to. Okay, so then he shows up. He's like, we're having our first Bachelor open, and we're for some reason putting all the women in costumes.
Yeah.
No rhyme or reason. No context. We're going to do an open. And instead of just letting the ladies wear their little tennis skirts, it's like we're going to have you dress like babies, lobster and butter. It's just wild.
It was like a really basic way to make it different than the pickleball thing with Gary's. Like, because they're like, well, we don't want to look exactly. So maybe let's go back to that shed that we used for the
giant bra.
For what?
The giant bra.
Yeah. Well, let's go back to the ABC shed that has a bunch of old used products from other shows, like we used on the the first dates, or what do you call it when they pull up?
Yeah, the limo entrances.
The limo entrances, like, made no sense, zero context. We're just going to use some of these. They're like hot dog and ketchup while tennis. No context anyway. Throw it on there.
They had those on the lot from, like, what's that one show, Wipeout or whatever?
Yeah.
Where they're like,
put someone in a hot dog costume and make him jump off a thing. You're like, it's the same thing. They literally, it's an old Wipeout, like storage
props
container.
Room, yeah.
And they're like, go for it. And they're like, all right.
Because the outfits didn't fit.
There's no
They were so
reason.
random. And it was just like, why are we doing this? Can we just have it? Can they just play tennis for the love of God?
What is the
but
point?
You know what? Shout out to the women. The women they're great, man. He's got a great fucking cast. A great cast. Yeah. They were funny. They were charming. They were making me laugh. And yeah, they had great attitudes about it. I would be like, you're expecting me to play tennis and also wear this baby costume? Like, can we do I have no dignity? Do you want me to have no dignity after this? Dignity. But the open ends and we have the winner, Lobster and Butter, aka Kelsey T and Evelyn. They were actually incredible. Yeah. They crushed it. And then we have the night portion, which, by the way, I'm finding it very interesting that on these group dates, Lexi 1 doesn't get extra time or a rose. Evelyn and Kelsey T1 don't get roses or extra time. So it's like,
what's the point?
Why am I
trying at all?
Why am I doing this?
I would have been like, oh, they're having a game today. I'm gonna sit this one out.
It's giving me nothing. Yeah. No, I have food poisoning until it's the night portion when I can talk to Joey. And then guess what? I'm like, I'm feeling better.
Oh my gosh. My leg hurts. Can you come over here? Make out. That's always the move. Just like a benign injury. And it's just like,
yeah, my ankle is a little sore. Yeah. So I couldn't run around today. It needs kisses.
Save me.
Yeah. Ooh, gross. But we see the ladies with Joey. We see, by the way, I'm going to stick to it. Speaking of Kelsey T and Joey make out. And he says there's something about Kelsey T. And he gives her like the third rose again. And we still haven't heard like a word from Kelsey T. Kelsey T is our sleeper. I'm standing by it. I know I say this every episode, but it's part of my lore and I'm standing by it.
I mean, it's like, it's another one of those where you're like, wait a second. Very little interaction, immediate. In.
But every time you see them, he's like, you did this for me. I mean, so we're not getting, something's going down. Something's going down. We have the moment with Daisy and Joey where she was just like, you want to touch it with her cochlear implant. And they had like such a sweet moment where he was like pulling her hair back and touching it. It was very romantic and they're very cute. Again, intimate. I'm like, it's another moment where I'm like, Daisy and Joey have got a killer connection too. And then Rachel's another one. Her earring gets stuck, which is a nightmare. I always get my nose ring stuck on Evan or in bed. I
always thought that was a really good, that's a good fake that. Like if you're on a date and you kind of want to get close enough to maybe kiss.
Fake that
your earring got caught. And then just be like, we're stuck. Oh.
Now, I will say this was not faked because they were stuck for a long time.
He's like, are you faking it? Oh, God.
He's like, I've seen this.
He's like, you're so funny. It just cuts to like she went home hospitalized.
I've seen this move before.
He's like, oh, stop.
But no, I mean, she's another one. Okay, she's
Yeah.
she's talking about that moment where she was like my dad and how her dad's a dream and her dad and her mom's relationship and how her dad reminds her of Joey. And I just looked at Evan and I go, can you imagine watching your kid on a season of The Bachelor and you tune into their one-on-one and they're talking about you
Crying.
and they're like, I love my dad more than anything. I'd be like, that's the goal of life. Like, that's the
If
life
Emma was going
goal.
on The Bachelor, I'd just pay her like a bunch of money, be like, please
Say
do
something
this.
nice about
Even if
me.
you don't mean it, let me just feel
But
it.
that was such a moment. And Rachel and Joey have a connection. It's
Yeah.
another one where I'm like, there's
There's a
something
good
about
4 or
Rachel and
5
Joey.
that are locked.
And then we see Caitlyn and Joey. And Caitlyn is like, so we have a family curse. And I'm like, what is this woman about to say? A family curse? I'm just shaking thinking about it. I was like, this is very D&D energy. Very D&D energy. I'm like, what is she about to say?
You
She's
write
about to
that
take us
down
on
for
a,
our next
a
campaign.
journey. Family curse. Write it down for the next campaign. No, but she's like, yeah, every woman in my family is single.
Yeah.
She's like, my mom has 5 siblings and all the women are single. And she's like, I'm wanting to break that curse. They're betting on me to break that curse. But then Joey's asking her, he's like, well, what do you think? Because you seem amazing. And I looked at Evan and I go, this woman is a stunning, charming radio chemist. So she's also brilliant. I'm like, she comes from a family of absolute badasses. And then we hear her say, she's like, yeah, my mom didn't want to give up her independence. And I'm like, damn, she comes from a badass.
That's a badass line. Why are you not dating anyone? I don't want to give my independence. You're
I mean, it's gorgeous.
You got to be real special to break through that.
That's the thing. And then Joey had the best response ever. And Joey's just like, it sounds like you have incredible, strong women who have raised you, and he loved it.
He wasn't
and I
intimidated
was
at
just
all.
like,
Yeah.
I mean, and I'm sitting here going, this sounds like a dream. Like stepping into a family with like such incredible, strong feminine energy. I'm like, hell yeah. And Caitlyn's got great vibes.
Well, great vibes.
She is like so charming.
It's gonna get really competitive here.
It really is.
Because like we've said like 6 people now that are like shoo-ins, and we're like, wait a second.
I know.
It's gonna get competitive. It's gonna be interesting.
And Caitlyn like definitely swept me off my feet.
Big time.
Big
time.
sweeping off feet energy.
I love her.
She is very rom-com energy to me.
Absolutely.
Like radio chemist in the lab.
Right.
She looks up and she's charming that big smile and she's got this family
She lets
curse.
the hair down and it's like
She got a family curse no one's ever been with. And you're like, oh, it's just a walking rom-com. I loved it.
her.
I loved it. Well, he ends up giving the group date to Caitlyn.
Yeah.
Which I loved. And after this, we are back at the house and, we already obviously got into the Syndney of it all, but we have a moment where she's just like, it's time. It's gone too far. I must say something to Joey. And everyone's like, what are you talking about? And then she's like, just so you all know, in the ITMs, I'm not the drama.
Yeah.
I'm not the mean girl. I'm like, anytime you say I'm not the drama, it means that you're the drama. That's just how it goes.
Just how it works.
And she's thrown out the term mean girl, mean girl, mean girl. And it's like, anytime you're throwing that out, that's when the mirror has to be put up and we got to have a moment of reflection.
Mean girl means someone who disagrees with me.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's the thing.
If you disagree with me, you're mean.
I just imagine too, and who knows if this happened or not, it's just kind of in my imagination, that when we saw Maria say that she was like, oh man, not a pageant, like I'm really out of my element doing pageants. I could imagine Maria, because she's spunky and has a big personality, saying something like, oh man, I never got pageants. And then Syndney being like, wow, what a mean girl. She knows that I was in Miss Massachusetts and she said I never got pageants. She's trying to have a dig at me and say that pageants are stupid. It's like, no, Maria just said I never really got pageants. That's the vibe that is
Syndney
screaming.
takes everything personal.
That's the vibe I'm getting.
Yeah.
But then we find out that we're not going to have a cocktail party because Joey has decided, Jesse lets us know, to do something really special for all the women. He's kicking off a pool party with some KFC. You
and
guys,
this wasn't a subtle KFC. This wasn't like and that's the ad.
we had gorgeous, lingering shots of tables covered with fried chicken.
And ITMs
biscuits.
with the girls going, this day couldn't be better because I have KFC and I love the mac and cheese. And it's like,
We see the women running out screaming, thrilled to be met with just piles of mac and cheese. When I'm just like, we all can mostly probably leave and get KFC whenever we feel like it.
This is not like Gordon Ramsay's cooking for us.
Exactly. That was the energy that it was met with.
Well, clearly they had to sit them all down and be like, hey, you guys got to act like you've never had KFC in your life, that you're so excited that you finally get to have KFC.
They're like, listen, ladies, you do know that next week we're traveling abroad already. We're going to Malta, not to Oceanside. So if your asses want to get to Malta, you're going to serve this KFC ad because we get this trip paid for.
Exactly.
Okay? So give it all you got. And they really did. They really gave it all they got.
Also, not pool food. Hot chicken and mac and cheese
That's
by
true. On a
the
hot
pool.
day, it's not it.
It's not really pool vibes. You're like, oh, sorry, I dropped cheese in the pool. You know what I mean? Oh, sorry, my chicken flakes are all over the pool. It's just not pool food.
It's not pool food. It's not like nachos.
No, it's not easy
It's not a
finger
nacho,
food. It's like greasy. It's delicious,
Even though
but greasy biscuits in the pool, sogging from pool water, not the vibe.
Bury me in mashed potatoes, though. My God. In a biscuit.
Yeah, nothing like floating around with a mashed potato. Like Thanksgiving dinner in the pool. It's not quite the thing.
But that was, I think, the most intense ad
was just like,
we've ever gotten in the middle of an episode ever. It was like, it was just full-fledged.
I feel like it would have been better if they just would have been like, and a word from our sponsor, and then did like a whole KFC
You know
ad.
what? I loved it. It felt like it was that
Well,
moment.
we're talking about it.
That's the thing. It was the moment at the
Shit.
end where
You guys got us.
where JP was floating around on the Colonel from KFC, giant pool floaties of him, and he's just sitting on this pool floaty, and he's in on the joke, eating the KFC, and you're like, it was so over the top and obvious, it made it funny.
Do you think
Because
that was
it made it
intentional?
I think so.
Do you think the advertising people were like, we're going to do this, and people are going to kind of quasi hate it, but because of that, they're going to love it, and they're going to talk about it?
I would imagine.
Like there is this level of like, if you do it in a certain way that's so over the top.
When it's super cringy,
Yeah.
people are going to be posting tons of memes about it.
That's true.
Which they did.
And
And then guess what?
look at us talking about
And
it.
look at
Everything's
this.
coming together.
When you posted that meme about how ridiculous that KFC moment was, KFC just got more
Free
free
ad.
advertising. No free advertising here. We're moving on.
Genius.
Keep going.
Genius.
We're not talking about it anymore. So screw that. We're done with that. And then the Syndney and the Joey moment happened. We've already talked about this. I mean, she said all the things that she said to Joey. It was absolutely bananas. And there was a moment too where after she said it to him, it seemed to me like she was kind of holding back a little bit of a smile when Joey was thanking her, because I think she was like, oh, I did it. And Maria's gone now, which I feel like is part of the plan. And then Maria had that moment that it hit me in the gut. And I think it hit Joey in the gut too. And there were some clips, by the way. We see Kelsey A saying, Sydney's one of my good friends, but she could handle situations better. The vibe I'm getting is that a lot of the women in the house like Syndney. A lot of the women are like, oh, that's my girl. But I think they're all quiet too. First of all, like you said, no one wants to go against her. But also, I think there's a level of like, I really liked her day one, and now she's absolutely going bonkers.
Yeah.
Like, what's happening? She's sitting by the pool, essentially talking to herself while we're sitting here about drama that none of us are understanding.
No one gets
And
it.
I think everyone's a little bit like, it's that friend of yours that you're like, I love them, but I don't support what they're doing. Or you're like, they're really nice to me, but like, I don't support what she's saying
And
right now.
I also think the fact that it isn't like girl power vibes in the house, that
Yeah.
everyone's kind of like, we're totally cool and friends, but we're kind of on our own journey here, makes it so no one's like
Standing
up for Maria. There's not like this, you're off, you need to chill, we're all friends here. No one's doing that, because I think it's kind of like, we're all cool with each other, but I'm not going to put my neck on the line
That's
for
the
you.
thing. I feel like people, they're being smart, where it's like, as much as, even though I'm like, someone stand up for Maria, and I'm so grateful for Edwina in the ITMs, and then talking to the other girls being like, what? We love Maria. Like, I'm so happy for that, about that. But I'm like, I wish that someone would be like, stop it, Syndney.
Well, I just wish it was Medina. I wish Medina would be like, can you chill? Like, I think we're all good,
Yeah.
you know? But Medina's smart. She knows that like I was already a part of a drama I didn't want to be in. So now I don't want to get sucked back in.
I feel like there's a lot of moments where Medina goes, like when she said the age thing and she goes, shouldn't have said that. I think when she said the word bullied, she changed it to pestered right away.
Yeah.
And I feel like I saw her face go, oops, wrong word.
Yeah.
Which understandable, that shit happens.
Yes.
You got a camera in your face, you're explaining something, you use the wrong word, and you're like, fuck.
Yeah.
That's kind of the vibe I got. But yeah, that's where then we're left off with them and then Syndney saying all the wild shit that she's saying about Maria. The world is cheering for Maria in the background and we're like, come on, Joey, we think that you've got it, but you're still unsure of what's going on. And Joey's like, I really wish I would have asked Syndney more questions.
Yeah, he's like, I don't know why you've, yeah.
Which I love that moment, by the way.
Yeah.
I love Joey being like,
She's like, so
damn it,
Maria's
I
like,
didn't
yeah,
ask the
so
right
I asked all these
questions.
questions and she didn't have an answer to it. And he's like, me neither. I didn't say it. She didn't have any answers.
Maria's
for it.
like,
I didn't
the
ask
only
it.
thing that I did wrong in Sydney's eyes is ask her what I did wrong.
Yes.
That's what she's holding on to. So can you ask her the questions? And Joey's like, sorry, they're not letting me have any more time with her. I just got to make a decision now. So then we get to the rose ceremony. Obviously, Kelsey A, Jenn, and Caitlin already have roses. First rose goes to Lexi. Then Leia, Kelsey T, Rachel, Medina, Daisy, Jess, Edwina, Autumn, Allison, Maria, and then the final rose goes to Syndney.
Of course.
And going home, we have Evelyn, Krissa, and Star. We'll miss you, ladies. I mean, Evelyn, I was out here sacrificing her body. Yeah. And is Syndney still here? God, it hurts. It hurts. But then we see Maria in ITM saying, hey, I'm ready to move forward and move on with my life. And Syndney says, no.
You work for me now.
Syndney says, no. You're part of my storyline. You're giving me more screen time. You're not going anywhere, Maria. Like, you're staying with me. And that's when then we get the preview for next week.
Next week's
and we're
gonna hurt.
have a 2-on-1. And again, we got 2 episodes, Monday and Tuesday.
Yes.
So we may not get the 2-on-1. You know what they'll probably do? They'll leave us on a cliffhanger, I bet, on Monday during the 2-on-1.
Yes.
That's what I bet. Because it's just too juicy.
Too juicy. I'm terrified. I'm gonna be honest with you, Maria. If you go home, I'm gonna be devastated.
You're gonna be. I mean, it's the same. But Evan's gonna be truly like, you have day one. It's like
Day
Maria
one. I was
is
like,
something special.
Something special there. Very cool. But one thing before we leave, one thing I want to say, which is interesting,
Yeah.
is that all the shoo-ins that we talked about, mellow, chill, smiley, right? We talked about that.
Yeah.
He kind of has expressed, like, I'm really into Maria,
Yeah.
but he's like, I'm also kind of afraid. Like, she's fun, outspoken,
Yeah.
ballsy,
Yeah.
interesting. And it almost feels like he's like almost saying like, I've never dated anyone like this before. And I'm
Yeah.
a little nervous to try someone that's not just like me, mellow, chill all the time.
Yeah.
You could, because he kind of said, he's kind of like,
I think he's intimidated by her.
he's kind of
for
like,
sure.
all right, like, I am very into her, but I'm also like, this is uncharted territory. And I sense him kind of being like, wait, is this Syndney thing an example of what I'm afraid of? Or
Right.
is this just, I don't know. Like you could sense his kind of like,
And that's why I'm
this
nervous.
is- I don't know what to do
Because I
here.
think he hates drama too. He's very worried about the drama. The second he heard the word bullying, it freaked him out, which we love that about Joey. But I think because he doesn't really know what's going on in the house, when you have one person like Syndney saying, I was bullied and verbally abused, it's like, oh my God, I'm absolutely spiraling. So I'm scared for Maria, because Maria is such a badass that I feel like she'll communicate with him, but she's also not going to be like, she's just not going to just like be like, oh, sorry. Because it's like, no, she's going to say what's true and authentic, and that she didn't do anything.
well, it's gotten to a point where I can't be ignored anymore. And there's nowhere to go. There's nowhere to turn. We're cornered.
What does she want me to do? Cut off one of my limbs?
What was that?
I don't even know. She said
Cut off
Maria,
one of my
she's like, what
limbs?
does Maria want from me? To cut off one of my
And
limbs?
Maria's going, what do I want from you? I want nothing
She's like,
from
I
you.
want you to stop talking
Will you
about
leave me alone?
me.
I love it. I mean, I gotta say, it's anxiety filled. I would not want to be in Maria's situation, but I will say, if again this is calculated by Syndney, you're causing havoc.
She really
and it's
is.
working. So we'll see.
She is. All right. Well, family, we love you all. Tune in on hopefully Wednesday next week to see our recap of the Monday and Tuesday episode of The Bachelor. And then next Friday for Love is Blind.
Let's go.
We love you all. Have a beautiful week.
Mwah.
Bye.
Bye.